Hey, Tim, how you doing?
Sorry. Taco Bell before the show. No, I'm joking.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Wednesday Night Live. We're back. Tim is already waving to everyone out there. He's saying hello to you guys. Yeah, from the yellow bus.
Yeah, from the short bus.
Short bus. The short
on
bus.
the short bus.
Yeah, if you're watching the show, you're probably on the short bus with us. So I'm driving the short bus.
All the cool kids are doing it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Just keep your tongue off the glass. Do not lick the glass, people out there. Do not lick the glass. It's a bitch clean it.
It's dirty. You don't know where that glass is.
Yeah, you don't know where that glass is. Well, what is going on, everybody out there? We got a lot to talk about tonight. One of the things, it's been a little bit quiet. I mean, and as far as federally, I'm going to say, I mean, there's still some little things going on here and there across the country with vaping as far as flavor bans and other things. But on the federal levels, I think it's been a little quiet. I don't know if things are, they're working on things or not. I'm not sure. I mean, there is a war going on, so I'm sure they're pretty busy with that. Tim's got a few things we're going to talk about, and we're also going to talk about Bruno Mars today. And get your thoughts on what took place at the the Grammys? So it's the Grammys, right?
Well, if you consider the BET Awards, you consider the CMT Country Music Awards,
Right.
you consider the Grammys, which is like all inclusive.
Yeah.
Then you have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. That was the Grammys. So that's basically the industry's
What is the
awards
Swag
thing.
Award? Isn't that
The
an
one
award
I
thing?
win every year. I win
Is
the
that
Swag Award every year.
it's not Swag. Source? Is it Source Award or
Yeah, there's probably, and they
something
have
like?
they have,
Is that
and then
music?
MTV has their own.
Right. Yeah. They have that with the little popcorn, or is it a popcorn and an
The Moon
alien?
Man.
Moon Man, the Moon
Yeah,
Man.
the
That's
guy
right.
holding the flag, right? You got to.
Yeah. So we got a lots to talk about tonight, and let's say hello to Mr. Tim Swift. Timmy,
Hey, everybody! So, welcome to part 2 of yesterday's show.
don't forget to
This
go
is
watch.
this is the extended version,
Yeah.
the 2-hour version tonight. So
Mhm.
you get John and I for 2 straight hours. Paul had something he had to take care of, so unfortunately he's not here. So John and I are going to hold it down, but I talk a lot, so you guys are good.
Yeah. We between me and Tim, we probably we could probably do a marathon, Tim, like a
Yeah,
24 hour.
we could do like the old Jerry what was his, Jerry Lewis telethons. All we need is just a bunch of people sitting behind us on telephones calling senators,
Yeah,
or it's senators calling them pledging
Yeah.
to save vaping.
and instead of having people come on and share their talents, we will just share our talents throughout the 24-hour period. Things that we're good at,
Mallory,
bigger
that
airplanes.
was an epic picture. I think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna start a TikTok trend. Just shove Q-tips in every orifice of your
Oh
face.
yeah. That's right. That's right. Yeah, we would just share our talents. I will make paper airplanes and what was the things called? The
I don't remember what the cootie catchers were called. That's what they were called, John. They were cootie catcher, and you put numbers on the flaps, and then you would write
6, 8.
like your fortune or like dares and stuff on the inside flaps, and you'd be like, okay, pick a number, and they go 4, and you'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you'd have to pick a number on the inside, and then 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
5, 6, and then they would finally have to pick a flap, and then you would have something underneath that flap.
Well,
I
we
remember
will
those.
have to go check that out, Mad Music musician.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll check
A
that
whole
out.
album. How many songs? 10, 11, 12?
Yeah. How many
Hidden,
songs?
hidden tracks too?
Yeah. Is it on vinyl, CD, or
No, you probably cut it digitally.
Yeah,
No, it's
digitally.
digital.
It's digital.
Most
Everything's
musicians
digital.
nowadays are doing everything digital.
Yeah.
Everybody has Pro Tools. So they basically
Yeah.
record down to their laptop. They record the track down to their
Yeah.
laptop, and then you mix it from there. Oh, he actually got it produced on CD. Nice, man.
Nice, man.
Way to go, bud.
Whoa.
There you go.
have
And
a
digital.
future star watching us, Tim. A future a rocker. I'm assuming he's a rocker. We've heard some of his music, so we're gonna assume he's in that alternative. What
Well,
genre?
he said groove. He said groovy. So I'm guessing it's probably
Groovy.
more funk, blues.
Funk, blues, rhythm and blues, rock.
A little bit.
Alternative. I don't know what all
It's
the
all
new
based
names
in the
are.
same roots. It all has the same roots, right? It all starts with blues.
It
So
starts with the blues and the
mhm.
devil. The devil created the blues. No, I'm just kidding. I
No,
don't
that
know.
you watch too many movies, John. You
Hey, the
you
devil went down to Georgia.
That's what Charlie Daniels said. No, but you probably watch Crossroads too much. You're a big Ralph Macchio fan.
I am a big fan of the
Yeah.
Crossroad Demons. Yes, I am a big fan.
What
I
was
have
the
not
what
sold my
was
soul though. I have not sold my soul.
well, you're not a musician, so there's no soul to sell.
I'm doing the Wednesday night live show on YouTube.
Exactly. Yeah.
Apparently, I have not sold my soul to the devil
You,
yet.
you sold your soul to Advocacy, friend.
To advocacy. There you
There you
go.
go.
So, how's Tim's weeks going? Weeks, not weeks. Week.
Well, this one week feels like multiple weeks all
Oh
wrapped into
shit.
one. No, it's just. I mean, we're just busy. I mean, we are ramping up our FBA distribution. So for people in the biz who don't know all the buzzwords and things, FBA means fulfilled by Amazon. So the company I work for has two components. We sell wholesale, and we sell retail through marketplaces like eBay, Amazon, Wayfair. Now we're going to be on Walmart and Shopify. And so basically, we manufacture our own products. We sell those to wholesalers who then resell them either wholesale on their own or retail. And then we have our retail market, and so we sell on Amazon. So we're ramping up our distribution to FBA because our margins are greater on retail sales
Yeah.
than they are on wholesale. And wholesale, you got to sell volume, and sometimes you can't always get that sale. So anyway, it's boring
Yeah.
talk. I don't want to talk about
Yeah.
work.
No,
This
no,
No,
no.
we don't want to talk about work.
Work is life. Work is life. I last night decided. Well, I checked. I had one pizza dough ball left in my freezer, so I decided at 9 o'clock last night that I'm going to make pizza balls for to put in the freezer for future pizza parties.
Hmm.
So did that. Went to bed about 11 o'clock after I was done, and I woke up at 2:30 in the morning dreaming of pizza. So I had to get up at 2:30 in the morning. I couldn't fire. I was going to fire up the pizza oven in the backyard, but I figured that would piss off my neighbors. That the smell of coffee in the morning wakes you up. I could just imagine what the smell of some asshole cooking a pizza at fucking 2:30 in the morning it would do to someone's sleep. And so cooked the pizza in the
Probably
oven.
join you for pizza at two
No,
thirty in
not
the
my
morning.
neighbors.
Oh well, you must have cranky old rotten neighbors.
No, not my neighbors. My neighbors. I have pretty good neighbors. I have the ones behind me they're good. They're good people. They're very quiet, but when they have a party, they have a party, and
Right.
and it's always. They don't have a lot of them throughout the years. Probably like six, maybe eight total all year, but it always includes a mariachi band. Always. And it's a full mariachi band. So there's like eight guys back there just jamming until like 2 o'clock in the morning. I
Mm,
don't understand a single song because it's all in Spanish.
yeah.
So, but yeah, he would probably jump over the fence and have a couple slices of pizza with me. But
I
yeah,
just
no,
never met anybody who had a craving to wake up at 2:30 in the morning and make fucking pizza.
right here, this guy, this guy
Well,
right
no,
here.
that's what I'm saying. You
Yeah,
would be the first,
yeah. Oh,
unless
dude, I
unless you're
I
talking
was
about
in
my
my
old stoner
apron.
friends.
I was in my apron, Tim. I had my pizza slider. I was putting toppings on it, and I was getting my sauce ready. And I just all of a sudden I put it in the oven, and I started to smell it in my dreams. And then I woke up. I was like, "All right,
So
I got to
you
get
went
up."
to bed in your apron and had your
No, no, no. I'm saying
slider.
in my dream. In my dream,
Okay.
I had my apron on. I had my pizza slider, everything in the dream. As soon as I put it in the oven and I started to smell the pizza, I woke up. I was like, all right,
Oh,
I
okay.
have to make a pizza. I have to. So I got up and I made a pepperoni and spicy Italian sausage pizza.
Hold on. No, wait, Shannon. I'm sorry. I'm watching a side conversation at the same
Yeah,
time. So Shannon's trying to get a link over to Tho. I think it's going that direction.
yeah,
Shannon, I think you can just post the link in chat. You can
yeah,
post the
yeah, yeah,
link in
yeah,
chat.
yeah. Is it
And
the link for this show?
no, 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 no. She
Oh,
has a link to something she
oh,
wants to share with Tho,
oh,
and
yeah.
they're saying they can't post links like in Legion. We can't necessarily share things back and forth,
Oh,
but but Shannon, if it's not, as long as it's not a private thing, you can absolutely paste a link in the
Yeah.
in the vape
Yeah,
show
I don't
chat.
think I have any restrictions on set up in YouTube for links. Some links, you can set up certain links to not display, but I don't think any others. Yeah, there shouldn't be any limitations. So I think as long as you put it in there, I
We
think the
post
only
links in there all the time.
yeah, there's no restrictions. There used to be there's a couple sites where you have to, you had to break it up like www no dot and put in the name and then space instead of a dot to trick it that it's not,
Yeah, no,
to a
no.
link,
Here
but
you
not
can
here. Not
if you
here. Yeah.
copy a link from a website, you can paste it in the chat.
Yeah, it should be fine. Yeah, it should be fine. Yeah, so
Oh,
I
she's
did
saying
that.
no. It's my email.
Oh,
Oh,
see,
I
yeah,
see what
well,
you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah, well, there's no way for us to.
yeah, don't share
We
that
can't
here
chat privately with people like on the show or anything like. We don't have any kind of feature like that.
unless you want to get spammed. Don't put that out there,
Yeah.
right there.
You
Yeah,
want me to
don't
say
do that.
hi to everybody?
Yeah, hit him,
All
Timmy.
right, okay, because there's a lot of people in here tonight. We already got 14 in here, man.
Yeah,
We're getting the numbers are coming up. We need like 50, 60,
yeah,
70. Invite your
yeah.
friends. So, Tho, what's up, man? Good to see you here tonight. Shannon, of course. So we were just talking about both of you. So, all good things, though. We don't care what people say about you guys.
Yeah.
We love you anyway. Is it? Oh, and Mallory. Mallory snuck in there. There's Luke. Green Thumb. Am I missing anybody yet? There's only been a handful. Matt. Well, of course, Matt,
Hair full of
musician,
metal.
magician. That's me. That's fucking me. The other troll. The other troll besides ZampleBox is hair full of metal. That's
I
me.
gotta block that guy
Yeah,
somehow.
yeah, hammer that guy out of here. Mad musician, magician, of course. Nessie Vapes, what's up? I think I got about. Oh wait, we got South Memphis Bro back from
Yeah,
yesterday. Good to see you
yeah.
back, man.
I
Welcome to the
like that name.
show. We got Fuck you. Fuck you is hanging tight. He's in the house. That's right. Yeah. So we got the good folks here tonight. We
Yeah,
got the good
everybody.
folks.
Yeah.
And if you just jumped on, take part in the show, chat it up. Everybody loves to talk to each other. So
Yeah, Chad, if you have any questions you want to throw to me and Tim today, just put them in the chat. We'll answer just about anything today.
yeah,
Just-
no more. I have no more. I have ever never questions.
yeah,
Never have I
we
ever.
know where your mind went with that one. That's
Yeah,
classic.
well,
I don't think
first thing.
anyone's ever going to answer that question with a threesome.
Yeah. Look who else snuck into the show too.
Yeah.
Look,
Yeah,
look. Just look to the right. Look who snuck in.
I see Shannon. I see Rogue.
No. Rog is here. I'll give you a
Uh,
clue. He's close to Rog.
Mr. QTube.
No, that's fuck
I don't
you.
see it. I remember I'm a little
Nick
bit.
Orlando in the
there it is.
chat.
Mr.
Yeah,
Nick
Nick
Orlando.
Fuck
There's our man.
Fuck me.
I was thinking. I was busy picturing my three-way. That's why I was just. I never
You,
ever.
Taylor Swift, and Taylor Swift's mom.
Ooh. No, what? What? No.
I said
no,
you, Taylor
no.
Swift, and Taylor Swift's mom.
No. Tim, don't ruin it. You're ruining it.
Okay. Well,
So
bring you back down to earth. That's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah, that brought me back down in many different ways you can imagine than just Earth.
Love you too, Nick.
Yeah,
You're the
love
man,
Mr.
brother.
Nick. We love Mr. Nick Orlando. So, guys, we wanted to talk. We're going to start off with the Bruno Mars story, and we all. I guess I wasn't aware at the moment when I posted my thing on Twitter that he had bought shares of Enjoy. I had no idea that. I don't know why I didn't know that. I mean, did you know that prior to?
I did not know that.
Yeah, I had no.
I actually
clue.
did not know he had smoked on the Grammys until I saw your picture.
Yeah, which kind of surprised me. I mean, I mean, understand that a majority of the individuals in this community, not just in the, I mean, in the industry, don't want celebrities. I get and I understand that, why that is. But when someone like that is so big and so popular buys into a company, I just find it hard to believe nobody ever approached him to kind of help the cause a little bit. And I get maybe why not too. Like I said, he is a younger artist, so he's going to draw a younger crowd into his whatever his music. I don't even know where his music fits in.
He's R and
Uh,
B,
he's R&B.
yeah, hip
So
hop.
I mean, I get that part, but it just kind of surprised me that someone, I mean, and we're talking some big money. He invested a lot of money in that in Android, which I tried my hardest. If anybody else knows how to do this, I kind of tried to look into if he still does own that stock or if he sold it off. I don't know how you go about finding that out. I know it's public knowledge, right? When someone purchases a stock like that or sells a stock like that.
Mhm.
So I don't know if anybody knows, if anyone in chat knows how to look that up to see if he still owns part of that company or not, or find out. But what was your take on it when you found out he did do that? Did you feel like
Well, my brain
he
went a
got a
bunch of
pass?
different. Well, my brain went a bunch of different ways on this one, right? So the immediate thought was he's an influencer of some kind, right? So
Yeah,
he's on the big stage, he's got all eyes on him. We're criticized constantly for our, trepidations into the influencer arena. Now, Jewel aside and advertising, and I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying,
yeah,
because we vape, because
yeah,
we're public about it, because we have juice lines and things and flavors that
yeah,
could potentially be considered child appealing, or imagery or whatever things you want to tie to it.
yeah,
They levy us as being a big part of being an influencer and getting kids attracted to this thing. So
yeah,
when I see him smoking, I'm thinking, well, now the narrative's just completely shot in the foot, because the younger generation is more inclined to like someone like Bruno Mars. He's not my style of music. I don't follow him. I'm not going to do what Bruno Mars says to do or how he acts. But
right.
younger, more impressionable kids will see that and make an association, and they'll be like, "It's cool to smoke." If it's okay for Bruno and it makes you look cool because he
Yeah,
just got his fourth Grammy and he's smoking a cigarette, that's how you celebrate, or that kind of normalizes things. That there was that one part of it, a big part of it, because
yeah,
again, vaping is demonized, but smoking is normalized. So I posted something to that effect. I retweeted off your tweet.
right.
My other part of my brain went to the space where I'm like, he was just fucking showing off. You know what I mean? It was like, he got his fourth Grammy, and so he just wanted to be a little flashy and
Right.
make him look sort of
Well,
cool and stuff like that.
right. Some people said he was going for that, which made me laugh. That old Hollywood look,
Yeah,
where
but
it was.
that's not Hollywood in the sense of the movies and stuff like
Well,
that.
yeah,
You know
that's
what I
the
mean?
image that he was. I'm old school. Old school Hollywood would have been up there, got his real award, and would have probably lit a cigarette up on the way up there. Like that.
Right.
That's what you would have saw the 50s, 60s. Before
I
first
agree. I
yeah,
think back when smoking was more widely embraced in public areas and things of that nature. I mean, you had people smoking on talk shows. You had
yeah,
people smoking on TV shows. All kinds of different stuff. So that's why I said my brain
yeah,
split in two at that point,
yeah.
because it's like it was just for show. I don't think he may very well not even like smoking, but
Right.
he maybe was a smoker before, and so it's not a big deal for him to grab one and light it up and have fun with it once in a
Well,
while.
he
So
did it for his mom. Remember, he started vaping because his mom got him into vaping.
right.
So and supposedly it was such an amazing product to him. And being the entrepreneur that he is, he
Hmm.
invested, I forget how much money in that company, but
Yeah, well,
you
that's
know,
what we're saying, Luke.
yeah,
John and I were not aware of the time that thing popped up that he actually
yeah,
had in 2014. Apparently, he
yeah,
invested in Enjoy. Now,
right.
2014 was a totally different year, though, too. When you
Yeah,
talk about vaping in general, I mean, it was still. I don't want to say it was still of a nubile kind of thing coming onto the scene. I
yeah,
started vaping in 2011 when Blues and Enjoys and the V2s and all that stuff were kind of the thing, right? We
yeah,
didn't have stack mods and regulated this and sub-ohm that. So, back in 2014, the vapor industry was a lot different than it is now.
Yeah.
But I think the presiding question that John had was, is there any way to find out if he still does own stock
Yeah.
or has an investment in that company? And we don't know the answer
Yeah,
to
we
that.
don't know. I'm kind of curious if he still does own stock in Enjoy. I mean, it's been quite a while. It's been quite a while. So it doesn't. Does the article even say how much he invested? It doesn't actually even show how much he invested. But I'm
Well,
kind of curious. I'm
yeah, I
curious.
think most people will probably keep their hand in the cookie jar as long as the stock is creating returns.
Yeah,
So, I don't know that Enjoy, it was never really, after I got done with that whole
yeah.
Sigalike phase, none of those product lines mattered to me anymore.
Well, here's where this is one of the reasons when I saw this happen, and then I didn't see any backlash. I went back to 2 years ago. I think it's
Okay.
2 years ago. David Chappelle,
Mm-hmm.
his stand-up show, and him vaping a blue, and the
Okay.
crap that he got for having a blue up there, almost to the point where I think people would have been more happier if Dave Chappelle still smoked cigarettes on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I kind of was like, oh, what's going on here? Does Bruno Mars? I'm thinking outside the box here. Does Bruno Mars say I have an Enjoy or I have a vape device? But you know what? You know, I'm not thinking way ahead, but maybe he's thinking to himself, David Chappelle got shit for having a vape device, and I won't look cool up here trying to send that message that I am, all that there is, the greatness by hitting my vape device. I'm going to go ahead and hit my cigarette. But
Right.
the backlash that David Chappelle got for having
Mm-hmm.
that blue up on stage was just crazy.
Right. Yeah,
You remember that?
I don't. I
Okay.
really don't remember the big stink about it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just a shame that that they have painted this picture that the moment someone of any kind of stature has one of those in
Yeah.
their hand, immediately they are pandering to children
Yeah.
and they're basically the antichrist at that moment in time. But they put a cigarette in between their lips and everybody just kind of lets it brush by. Now,
Yeah.
with that said, Truth Initiative finally did chime in on it like 3 days later because
Yeah.
everyone was ripping them apart when we first found the picture. We were
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
tagging them, going right after them, going, well, now your narrative's completely, blown out of the water. Now all this fight that you've put up to
Yeah.
end this have
Yeah.
allowed this to just stay normal. Like no one cares about the smoking anymore.
Yeah.
Everyone's focus is on vaping and how horrible it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I pulled up the David Chappelle thing. I mean, if you guys want to look that up, I don't know if you guys remember the crack. It was his Netflix special, and I just remembered. I was like, "What is that thing he's got up there?" And every time he hit it, it turned blue. So
Mm.
I was like, "What is he hitting up there?" And I go, "It's got it." Well, it's David Chappelle, so automatically I'm thinking it's not e-liquid, right? It's not e-liquid. It's something else, but I guess
THC vape.
yeah, THC, and then all of a sudden I realized, okay, I got a pretty good look at it, and I think it's a what do you call it?
I was
It's
sick of
not
like blue.
it's not a blue. I don't think it is a blue. I think it's the no, I don't know.
I don't know
Uh,
any other ones that light up blue.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was here. Let me see if it shows up what it is, but it looks like it's a oh here,
Is it a
let me just
pod device?
it's a pod device, but I
Would
think
you
it
have a
looked
picture of it?
yeah, I'm pulling it out right now. I got to
Okay.
download it first. But I think it's the one company that we're all fighting about right now. Let's see if I can get this up here and blow it up. There we go. All right. Yeah, I think it's what do you call it?
We'll show
Ah,
it and then we'll name it.
yeah. Here. Share
You're killing
screen.
me. Yeah, I got to see this picture.
That's the best I can do. I
Well,
think it's
that's
a
not a blue.
that's not a blue. It's flat and it's yeah, I'm not sure exactly
Is
what
it a
that
jewel? It could
it
be a
might be a
jewel. It
jewel.
looks
It
like
could
it
be.
has a black tip on it, so I'm gonna go with jewel.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's a jewel device.
Yeah, it's
Now,
probably yeah.
if that's going to draw ire, I can understand why. I can
Yeah.
come. I mean, it's up, Anthony. How you doing, man?
What is up
Uh,
at it? It's
I certainly think if that is something that would quickly draw ire.
is it
I
an
don't think in
Android?
his case it could have been anything. It could have
Yeah.
been any pod device. It could have been a
Yeah.
Caliburn, and he
Yeah.
would have caught shit for it just simply because of what it was.
Right.
Just because of what it was. So he got the public, lashback. And I think the reason why, if you're saying 2 years ago and he caught all the flack,
Yeah,
that's
2018. Yeah.
2018. So
Yeah.
when was he? When did Valley happen? Before COVID.
Before COVID.
So
Yeah.
probably 2019 is when
Yeah.
Valley came around.
Yeah.
So that would
Yeah.
predate that.
Yeah.
So I think at that time, Juul was under the majority of the scrutiny. I mean, 2016 things really started to ramp up. So it's not surprising that in 2018, any influencer with any kind of a vape device would be chastised for having one and being on TV in a
Yeah.
public forum where someone could see what he's doing.
Actually, Vaping 360's got a good article on the story, so I'll go ahead and post that. You guys, if you guys want to go check out that article later, go check it out and read it. It's actually a pretty good article about the whole story that goes into him, deciding to quit smoking and going into vaping and
And that's great. I mean,
yeah,
but see, that's the thing is
yeah,
that he should be able to freely advocate as a user to try to influence people to not. Because, I
yeah,
mean, let's be realistic. People who do smoke, and there's articles coming out now that are saying that cigarettes are starting to make a comeback again. And I
yeah,
think that that's directly related to the whole fact that vaping has been demonized and redheaded stepchild so much
yeah,
that people are like cigarettes are better for you. So I'm just gonna, smoking
yeah,
is gonna become trendy. I read an article
yeah,
today, as a matter of fact, that the reason why cigarettes are making a comeback is because other things have been sort of released from the taboo. They even
yeah,
brought up the whole concept of why cigarettes have become more popular in some cases than weed
right,
because no, well, the reason behind it is because weed before was kind of like a thing to have fun and get high and
right,
chill and party or whatever, and now it's become this medicinal thing. Older people are using it as a sleep,
yep,
aid and things like that, and so the younger generation sees it as being sort of like weak,
yep,
like why do we want to smoke weed? It's
yeah,
pansy anymore to smoke weed.
yeah. The
So they're
boomers are doing it.
right. So let's go back to something that's more risque. Let's go
Yeah,
back to
yeah.
something that's more taboo.
Yeah. And one of the things too that with David Chappelle and now with Bruno Mars again, and even I don't even the fact that it's whether it's a cigarette or it's a vape device, it's still the fact that they took it unto themselves, thinking I'm bigger than whatever's going on and I can do whatever I want. Maybe that's one of the reasons but you think maybe that's one of the reasons vaping kind of stays away from that celebrity that the celebrity is going to be the guy that's like, fuck you, I'm at a restaurant, this is a vape device, I'm going to vape.
Well, I mean, I certainly think that, people at that level, have some element of bulletproofing
Yeah,
attached to them and
yeah,
and a level of ignorance that allows them to kind of defy the laws. The laws don't apply to me. I've got money. I can
yeah,
just buy my way out of this situation, or
yeah,
I can take the heat and
yeah,
I can just go against the
yeah,
grain. And to some people, that is sort of cool, right?
yeah,
Throwing your middle finger up to the
yeah,
man, taking your stance, doing what you want to do, and these people have a luxury
yeah.
that some
I
of
knew
us
that, Luke.
don't.
Yeah, I knew that already. I just didn't know about Bruno. I had no clue that he was even an investor. I knew about him. I knew about that guy, but I didn't know about Bruno Mars. That kind of blew
Right.
me away. That blew me
Yeah,
away.
well, the
Knowing it
rubber
was
the rubber has to meet the road, right? Did the guy stay in the game, or is he just basically treated it
yeah,
to it like a joke to some degree? But I
yeah,
think we talked about this briefly before the show, the whole situation, and you brought up an important point: is that what do you think would have been the coverage and the backlash had he had a vape had he
Yeah.
pulled a vape and puffed on it,
Yeah.
even if it was a tobacco flavor,
Yeah.
probably,
You see him going up there. It's tobacco. I swear.
yeah,
No
exactly.
candy
Yeah,
flavor.
this is a great RY4. Yeah, so got kids don't smoke.
Yeah.
Like he
Yeah.
could have done something dumb like that.
Yeah.
At least if you're gonna have to do something, you could have encouraged people not to smoke, even though
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
But it would have been all over the news. It would have been all over
Oh.
the TMZ would have been
Yeah.
carrying it.
Yeah.
There would have been so much controversy. It would have probably presided over over the Ukraine as
Yeah.
first story on all the media, the mainstream media stuff,
Yeah.
because
It would have been
the
trending. It would have been trending on
it,
Twitter for sure.
it literally would have been all over the place if it was a vape device. Now, the fact that he smoked, it flew
Yeah.
under the radar because people
Yeah.
probably were like, oh, it's kind of
It's
kind of
socially
cool.
accepted.
He was
Yeah,
being
he's so
suave
cool.
or whatever the fuck.
It's Bruno Mars, man. It's Bruno Mars.
Whatever.
I
They're
only know a
just
couple of
people.
his songs. I only know a couple
They're
of his songs.
well, yeah, but I'm saying they're people
Uptown
just like
Funk,
everybody else.
which I think he
Whatever.
stole, right? I don't think that's his song, but that's the only song. Actually, that's the only Uptown Funk. That's the only song I know.
That and the happy song, right?
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Or I
Clap
don't
your
want to
hands
work.
if you feel like happiness is for you, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, that
However it
one
goes.
where he has monkeys in the video. I forget what it is. That one. That's the other song. I just don't know the names. So, yeah,
I'm just
I think he would have. I think if he lights up a vape or lights up, if he uses a vape device, I think it would have been instant. On I would have trended immediately. I think Pave or I think Tobacco Free California, Tobacco Harm Reduction, all those people out there would have had a tweet out within minutes of him hitting that jewel or whatever he would have. He would have had up there his enjoy, but I think, yeah, you're right. I mean, it's alcohol and tobacco. It's so socially accepted, and it's not like, oh, he's the terrible person for smoking up there. It's like, you're right. It's like, oh god damn, he looks so cool up there lighting that, and he did. He made it look really. I had to watch it because I was just like, he made it look like it was the coolest thing he was doing. Like the cigarette was more important than that fucking trophy he got. To.
But see, but that's the
Yeah.
whole thing, though,
Yeah.
right? I mean, as flippant as it was,
Yeah.
that momentary impression
Yeah.
sells to kids, right?
Yep.
So the fact that he did it, other kids are going to be like, well, Bruno did it and he looked cool as shit, so I'm going to do it. And so that's where it's going to lead. Now, who's to say that one thing was that monumental? But it's possible that he did influence some people.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's breaking the law. Number one, that looks cool. He's smoking. That looks cool. He's up there winning a major award, which is, I don't know, how would you say it was his fourth or fifth one? So big
Apparently,
deal.
his fourth.
Yeah. So I mean, what's to stop the kid to going? Fuck, if Bruno Mars can do it, I should be able just to walk on the campus and light a cigarette, right? I mean,
I
Bruno
don't know.
Mars did it.
I don't know that they would be that brazen, but
Yeah.
kids like cool.
Yeah, they
Kids
like to be cool.
and so you take cool and you add taboo to that,
Yeah.
and it instantly magnifies the I want it kind of vibe, right? So if a major star musical influence shows up and they're wearing friggin' polka dotted Vans or polka dotted Chucks, everybody wants to have polka dotted Chucks. If they're wearing a members only jacket, they're bringing them back. Everyone's going to want a members only jacket.
Yeah,
I'm saying it just they have the ability to, because of their popularity, they have the ability to take the most inane thing and make it the most popular thing that people could do at that moment in time.
Yeah. And you're right. It does still have sex appeal, and Hollywood has gotten away with it for many, many, many years. And I was wondering the other day, last night, I was actually watching a movie, and it was about the guy that invented the code breaking machine, the Enigma. I forget the guy's name, but it's a really good movie. And as the movie's starting, at the top it says smoking, but for historical references only. And I was like, that's the first time I saw it written like that. Usually it just says with smoking, but they made sure to add that they were smoking in it because they were trying to show that it was that period, that time, everybody did it. And I was like, okay, Hollywood. But I was thinking, Hollywood says, all right, we want Brad Pitt. We want Brad Pitt in this movie. And Brad says, you know what? I'll do this role, but I'm not going to smoke. I don't want to smoke it. You think any actor is going to go that far and say that eventually someday that I'm going to do this movie, and I understand the guy smokes, but I don't want to smoke.
Say that again.
Do you think that eventually someday it will get to the point where an actor is going to tell a producer or director, I'll do this movie and I understand the guy smokes, but I refuse to smoke in this movie?
Well, it depends on how nuancy the director wants that.
Yeah.
Because if it was a big part of that person's life where they were known to be a smoker, a pack a day, well,
Yeah.
who was that? Who was that talk show host? I want to talk to Mutt's point too here in a minute.
Yeah.
But who was who? Well, I can't remember his freaking name. He was controversial. He was a talk show. Morton Downey Jr.
Yeah.
And that guy had like one of those old silver salad bowls on his show, and that guy hotboxed like 3 packs of cigarettes a day. Now, if you let's say, for the sake of argument, that somebody was going to do a documentary or a movie about his life, and the star they booked said, you need to smoke for this movie, and they said no, then that guy doesn't get the role. Now, as I understand it, they probably can create these prop cigarettes that look pretty real, and they probably can make, if it's a health risk thing, because the best person for the role is person X, but you got the Y factor, they probably can create a prop to get around that. So to Mutt Vape Monk
real quick, Nick's calling you out.
Wait, dude, don't hate on members only. Checkerboard Vans and hold on. I don't even know how to say that word. Cavarici pants. Dude, what were Cavaricis? I wore parachute pants, not Cavaricis. So if there was such a thing as Caravici, I didn't wear those. I don't even. You'll have to enlighten me. Like, send me a DM with a picture of some Caravicis.
Good.
Now, for the record, I did grow up through the '80s, and we all wore members only jackets and shit like that. So I'm just saying, they're kind of a dead thing now. Like they're not that
making a
big,
comeback. Yeah.
But Bruno could wear one, and then all of a sudden everybody wants to wear one because it's fucking cool. All right, so to Mutt Vape Monk Rider's point, mech mods in the hands of children. Just watch some of their TikToks. Which is worse, Hollywood does it or kids? Kids, hands down. I think what we're talking to is the idea that Hollywood people have the power of influence in the palm of their hand. And now, if you were to put mech mods in the hands of Hollywood stars and they were able to prance around with them all the time, I can guarantee you it would get a bunch of other people to be like, what's that? Let me check that out. That looked cool, that kind of thing. But hands down, kids with mech, I didn't even know. I've never seen a kid with a mech mod. I've never seen a picture of one. I've never heard of a kid getting busted with one. I think they're a little bit harder to actually take to school, and they're going to blow clouds for days, right? So maybe in their house they're doing it, and they're doing it on TikTok. I've only seen, to be realistic, I've only seen like maybe 2 vaping related things on TikTok. I haven't
seen none yet. I have not seen one single vape device or cloud or anything on TikTok yet.
I have seen people have them in their hand, but they didn't puff on them in the video. You can see them talking to the camera, and they've got like a disposable in their hand. I've seen that. The other video that I did see on TikTok, which had nothing to do with mech mods or a vape device in anybody's hand, but they were telling a story about apparently how they had all these lung issues caused by the doctors. Didn't necessarily tell them it was from vaping, but they made their own self-diagnosis. That it was vaping. So she was telling her story, and I saved it and I posted it in a group, and I'm like, here we go again. She's not telling the truth. She's not saying what was really the crux of it. But I believe you, Mutt. If you've seen that stuff, I certainly think that's worse because
I think we should start doing that. I really do.
Report it. Yep, and that's also even more dangerous because I'm gonna call a kid's judgment into question, because he's probably building way too low. He doesn't know shit about Ohm's law. He has no safety procedures in place. His brother
Yeah,
probably
using a
showed him that
Walmart
he's got
battery.
mech mods, and they're think it's cool as shit, so they make
Yeah.
videos with it. All right, hold
Yeah,
on. I want to see
it
what
was
this
just
shit looks like.
funny seeing that yesterday because that's the first time I saw it for historical references only, and I was like, okay, I was like, okay, just say smoking. Don't try to make it sound like you're trying your hardest to keep cigarettes out of movies, and the only reason it's there is because it's for historical references only. We all know everybody was smoking in the fucking 40s in England. Everybody had a cigarette. I mean, there were probably 10-year-olds walking around with a pack of cigarettes back then. So just to use it and just to make themselves feel good, oh, for historical purposes only. Give me a break. I mean, give me a break. But I am curious if a Hollywood actor would step up and say that someday and just say, you know what? And like you're saying, though, they probably do have a device. It's probably a vaping device that looks like a cigarette that, which they have anyway.
Well, I
But
think I had read that somewhere that they had cigarettes in these movies, and that these prop houses were making basically a fake cigarette that would
yeah,
emit a vapor or a smoke,
yeah,
but they looked more like a real cigarette as
cigarette.
opposed to they didn't
Yeah,
have the light up tips on them. They looked more like a real
yeah,
cigarette. So I'm
yeah,
pretty sure the magic of Hollywood could find a
yeah,
way to get around it.
yeah,
But the point, to your point,
yeah,
I think if the actor, if the character in the movie was a known smoker, and the directors will go for realism.
yeah.
If that character is supposed to be a smoker or was a smoker, the person that takes that role is going to have something in their hand. They're not
Yeah.
going to be able to just turn it down.
The University of TikTok.
Yeah, yeah.
I hear they're accepting applications today. Yeah, I'm going to start doing that though. I'm going to see if I honestly, like I said, I have not seen any vaping videos on TikTok, but if I were to see one and I assume that it's somebody under 21, I'm going to fucking report the video because I think, we need to all start doing that. Let's be the Karens of TikTok. Let's be the Karens of fucking YouTube. When you see shit like that, it's going to hurt our industry. It's going to hurt our community. Report that shit. And then do your best to let everybody else in the community know that those videos are out there. Send links out to people and just start hammering those accounts because that's what the ain'ts use. That's what they're pulling. They're pulling those videos and they're making us look bad. So if you see one, report it. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it.
I remember when we all got hot headed when we stumbled on that kid on Instagram, Red
Right.
Jewel Kid.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's even still out there. Hold on, Red
He's
Jewel Kid.
probably
I'm gonna look
he's
him up.
he's moved up to cigarettes now,
I'm
Tim.
lo- I'm gonna look up Red Jewel Kid,
Oh,
and he's
oh,
not
man.
coming up under the search. So I don't know. He may have finally shut down, but
Yeah.
I think he changed his name
Yeah. Yeah.
several times over the
Yeah,
period.
I do think we need to start hammering those. When you do see someone and that person is underage and he's vaping and even on Twitch is very good. Twitch is probably, I don't know how they do it, but Twitch has been one of those platforms that if they see you vaping, they'll pull it. They'll pull
Yeah.
it. So, I don't know how they're doing it. I really don't, unless somebody is reporting the video, because I don't even know how you would write code for that,
Yeah,
to look.
well, I think, and it would seem to me that TikTok. I mean, again, I mean, I don't try to fall in any one bucket on
Yeah,
TikTok, so I pretty
yeah,
much just whatever content
yeah,
I can watch will come through on my feed,
yeah,
and I've even typed in vaping just to see what comes back, and nothing. I get very
yeah,
few hits on
yeah,
return. So if the things I have seen have been relatively, it's not, no one's promoting a device, no one's
yeah,
doing a review, no one's, blowing clouds and doing blowing O's and doing vape tricks and stuff like that. I never see any of that on TikTok, which
yeah,
is strange. So I don't know if I've just
yeah.
gone that
Well,
long and never seen anything. But
I'm just wondering how long it's going to be before we jump off of this Bruno Mars story. He's already taken up too much of the time of the show, but I wonder how long it's going to be before he says something because I guess he is getting some backlash now, right? He's getting some backlash from a couple of the
Well,
ain'ts out there. Do you think
well,
he
Truth
even
Initiative
responds?
was the
Yeah,
first one I saw say anything
yeah.
about it.
You think he responds, or a publicist, or
I think
one
you'll
of the
probably tell him to go get fucked and mind your own business. I mean,
as he
you
lights a
know,
cigarette?
well, I don't think he needs to explain
Yeah,
away a lot of stuff. You
right,
know what I mean?
right,
Like he's not in a position where he doesn't have to explain himself. He's not being chastised all over the mainstream media. So I mean, there's really no story right now, and
right.
that's the irony in it is that he does that, and no one gives a flying shit about it, and
Yep.
he does whatever he wants. But had it been a Jewel or something else, we would have. We'd still. We'd
Oh,
be. It'd be. It would be going on as long as the Will Smith story.
do you got here? Uh,
Okay. So a
wow.
nice chunk of change.
That's the kind of money where you don't fucking light a cigarette up on stage. If you're going to self promote a product, you don't go on stage and use the competitions, whatever, to promote it with when you have millions, when you have an opportunity. I guess I'm not going to go down that fucking road. Never
Yeah.
mind.
Well, let's just put Bruno to bed at this point. I mean, I think we've
Yeah,
beat the dead horse. I mean, I just think it was sort of like it was a shot, a shots fired kind of thing. It's just like, it's just a reminder that we have to continue to fight, and that you can see how all this yah that goes on with all this,
yeah,
propaganda and the fight that they put up.
yeah,
They just kind of they allow everyone to just look right past the cigarette.
yeah, yeah. Boo! I wish I gonna get. I need to bring the sound effects back, but I'm afraid to bring them back to the show because copyright bullshit. So I
Uh,
don't want our show. I'm doing my best. There's no more sound effects on this show. There's no more images. We're going to do our best on this platform to avoid the possibility of ever being kicked off of YouTube. So
right.
yeah, it's funny that someone can own a fart sound. That's all I'm saying. That's
Dude,
all I'm saying.
everything in this time and day is either copywritten or there's a trademark on it or something.
Yeah,
I don't even want to go into personal stories. I've
yeah,
experienced that
yeah,
firsthand over a couple words
yep,
that, that I saw somebody get an entire storefront get shut down because
yep,
they used a name that this person used and they were in two totally different industries.
yep,
Shut them down,
yep,
completely
yeah.
shut them down. Anyway,
Burger King's getting sued because the Whopper's not as big as they say it is in the commercial,
oh,
dude.
whatever. I'm not measuring the fucking Burger King Whopper. Holy crap! All right, so do we want to talk about Denmark for a minute? This
Yeah,
is this is a this is a
hit
side
it for
news
our
story. I'm going
Denmark
to share this
viewers.
one. I'm curious to get some feedback from you guys in the chat on this one, and I'll ask some questions and stuff. So let me share the screen. Come on, baby. There we
Yeah,
are. All right, so
so,
this is something that popped up on my radar today. I'll make it a little bit bigger. It's not part of my standard news stories today,
mhm.
but I just thought it was an interesting one. It's a conversation about Denmark. They're talking about passing a bill that would considers a ban on cigarette sales to anyone born after 2010. So that means anybody who's 12 now and beyond, or younger, as they get brought onto this planet, they would completely ban the sale of cigarettes to those people in order to stop the next generation. Now, apparently, a monstrous number of people smoke in Denmark.
Yeah.
Well, they said, look at this. According to the health ministry, about 31% of 15 to 29
Wow.
year olds smoke in Denmark.
Wow.
Now, I mean, that may be a realistic statistic. I think some of that's culture. I
Yeah.
don't know what the status of vaping is in Denmark. I probably should have done a little bit more homework on that. But they just kind of quantified this as our hope is that all people born in 2010 and later will never start smoking or using nicotine-based products. So when they say that, it's kind of all encompassing, right?
Yep.
That means they're talking about snus. They're talking about vaping. They're talking about anything that has some kind of a nicotine delivery system associated to it.
Yep.
So I don't know that this is actual legislation on anybody's table.
Yeah.
Um, but they do talk about the harms. They say smoking is the main cause of cancer in the Nordic country of 5.8 million people and responsible for roughly about 14,000 deaths a year. So they had a poll. 64% of people surveyed were in favor of this, of the Danish government's plan, and 67% among
Yeah.
those aged 18 to 34. So
Yeah.
even the same generation that is part of the smoking culture is in favor of them passing legislation. Now, so my first question is, does anyone in chat think that we would ever see legislation like this?
Ooh, God, no, no.
I don't. I think there's too much money
Yeah,
involved here.
yeah.
Too many lobbyists involved. I think these countries that have public healthcare systems have a lot more leverage to pass legislation that's
Is
that
there anything
heavy-handed.
in this article that are they moving? Are they trying? Is there anything in this article that's saying that they're moving forward like New Zealand and trying to eventually someday just get rid of tobacco altogether? Is that, I wonder if that's
They
their
don't
bottom line
specifically
goal.
say
Yeah,
that
yeah,
because otherwise you would
yeah.
not be passing a bill that
Right.
says I'm going to stop selling cigarettes to people
Yeah,
born on
yeah,
2010 or later. That means I'm going to keep it around, but hopefully, with any luck, if I stop the sale of it. So it basically is, at some point,
yeah,
it becomes a countrywide ban,
yeah.
right? Because
Right.
once you get everybody in that country beyond 2010 and
Yeah,
beyond their birth date, then you effectively install a mass ban
yeah.
on tobacco products. So it's going to take a long time to get
Yeah, I was
there.
gonna say I'm just doing the math in my
You
head,
know,
thinking, "Fuck."
think about the number of people that were grandfather claused on that one, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So, I mean, 2009 or better, younger than that. I mean, I'm
yeah,
53. I was born in 68. I'm still
yeah.
hanging around. All those people are going to continue to smoke.
Right, right.
There's quite a few. I mean, I don't know what the total population of Denmark is necessarily, but, that's a lot of people that are going to be
Yeah,
able to continue to smoke. And, I mean, and I'm going to be realistic. Not everyone dies from smoking.
yeah,
Not
yeah,
it doesn't kill everybody. It kills
yeah,
a lot of people, but it
yeah,
doesn't kill some people smoke their whole entire life and never have one health issue.
yeah. I had an uncle,
My
92, not one single shred of cancer. He died from drinking too much and falling from a set of stairs.
right. So that's what I'm saying is I mean, in the grander scheme of things,
Yeah,
we can say all the bad things we want about smoking because we know what it can do to people,
yeah,
but not
yeah,
everybody dies from it. So
yeah,
that said, I mean, they're just saying that they have plans
yeah,
to do this. Now, how fast this legislation moves, how
yeah.
much. Thank you, Stu. Yeah, but it's true, man. If you want to see my driver's license, I can promise you.
I wonder if tobacco is some way somehow helping to fight this over there. I don't know how much power they. I mean, I'm trying to figure out where big tobacco, world tobacco, has pull in what country. Or I would assume they'd have a lot of pull. If 30, would you say it was 31% of
31%
smokers?
of the population between 15 and 29 smoke.
So I'm assuming big tobacco, world tobacco's got some pull in that country.
Well,
With
and
those
that's
numbers.
and that's a big thing, right?
Yeah,
Because you have to replace it with something, right? So
right.
if you're a massive billion-dollar organization that's based on
Yeah,
people being addicted to your product, and this country is effectively laying out plans to say you're no longer wanted in this country,
yeah,
you know, I guess the idea is that it's no longer necessary because there's no alternative. But I mean,
yeah,
let's be realistic, right? I mean, if it still exists, right? So
yeah,
2009 or better, if it still exists and it's still available,
yeah,
even people who are beyond the point at which they can purchase it are still going to get their hands on it and they're
yeah,
still going to partake in it. It's still going to go black market. They're going to get it illegally. It's going to
yeah,
persist. And you're never going to probably unless they ban the
yeah,
importation of it, and you
yeah,
can't do that because
no,
then you're banning everybody.
yeah. It looks like too, from what I'm reading, they're about to have their first tax as well on e-cigarette fluids there in July, is what it says here. So they don't even have a tax or any kind of a deal on any e-liquids there at all, but they are planning on July of 2022 having their first tax on e-cigarette fluids.
Who? Denmark?
Denmark. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's just this is all very interesting to me
yeah,
that some of these countries are considering measures like this.
yeah,
So, and then here it will and then there's something about drinking. It will raise the legal age for purchases of drinks containing less than 16.5, less than six.
yeah,
What the fuck has 16.5? Their beer?
yeah,
16.5% alcohol from 16 to 18. Yeah, that's the big difference in some
yeah,
countries, right?
yeah, yeah,
16-year-olds can drink.
yeah,
To your point on that, I think, I mean,
yeah,
if we're talking about like a real young kid that
yeah,
happening to, I agree with you, bro. That's bad news.
yeah,
I mean, no kid should be vaping. No
yeah,
kid, let alone needs a mech mod in his hands. But did we not have an incident a couple years ago where a kid did literally blow his face
yep,
off with a mech mod? He had a mech mod and he didn't know what he was
yeah,
doing,
yep,
and he was obviously he was old enough to have it, but he went into a vape shop looking for help on how to use it,
yep,
and the vape shop didn't sell any mech mods. They didn't have any for sale in the store, but because of the laws, the way the FDA runs the laws, the vape shop is not allowed to touch it or handle it or fix it for him.
yep,
So they basically just told him, "Hey, look, man, we can't help you." And he went back out to his car and he fucked around and he found out and the damn
yeah.
thing blew up and I don't want to say it
Isn't that
something
the
to
one that caught the whole car on fire? Wasn't it? Was that the one?
yeah, he
That's the
was in
same
his
one. Yeah,
car. He was in
yeah,
his car. So he had someone had given him a mech mod.
yeah,
He probably was trying to use an Addy on it that
yeah, yeah,
wasn't set up for hybrid capability.
yeah,
He didn't know at all what he was doing. He walked into the vape shop to ask for help, which is probably one of the better places you could go to get help. But because they didn't sell any and because they weren't allowed to help him, they had to turn him away. He went out to his car and was messing around with it, and it
yeah.
exploded in his face, and he got shrapnel in his face, and
Yep.
it messed up. I don't think he died.
No, no.
I think he ended up in a coma for a little while, and I think they had to do some reconstructive surgery on his face. But yeah, bad news, right? I mean,
Yeah.
those are very highly specialized devices, and they should never
Yep.
touch the hand of anyone of any age
Yeah.
who don't know the first thing about what they're doing with that kind of a device.
I think
And
he was
so
underage too. I think that's one of the reasons the vape
no,
shop sent him
he
on his
was
way.
old enough to go
Was he
in
old
there.
enough? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
he
he
was
was.
old.
Yeah.
I mean, we can try to find the article
Yeah.
and pull it back up, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
Mutt brought up a very important point,
Yeah.
and that important point is that he's right.
Yeah.
The moment that happens with a kid, when it's like a 14-year-old kid who had a mech mod and he literally blows his lower jaw off because he was messing around,
Yeah.
it's going to be highly amplified.
You're right. It was a sub tank. He had a sub tank on that mech mod. That's what it was.
Okay, so he had a sub tank
remember
on
it
there.
was a sub tank on there. Yeah. Now, speaking of the drinking thing, it was funny when you brought that up because I was 15 in Italy and with my cousin, and everything's a bar there. So even if you want a soda, you have to go into a bar.
Okay.
So we go into this little bar, and my cousin, who's 15, goes, "Yeah, he's having a beer." And I'm thinking to myself, "No, you can't." He goes, "Oh yeah, you want a beer?" And I'm like, "No, I'm 15, not supposed to have a beer." It's weird when you go to different places and around the world how they accept, drinking whatever age. It's like,
Well,
fuck you.
you were obviously extremely naive because I remember back in junior high and high school, we
Oh,
had
we could
these,
get it.
huh?
We could get it, but we weren't allowed to get it. They were
Oh no,
allowed to walk
I
into.
thought you were talking about being in a foreign country. You
Oh
said
no, yeah,
Italy.
yeah, yeah. I was in Italy at
Okay, well, let
15.
me finish my
Yeah,
story. My story was is in junior high and high school, we would periodically have classes that were a certain limited number of kids were allowed to take international trips. So they took
yeah,
them to places like Greece and Italy,
yeah,
and everybody wanted in on that because
yeah,
they knew when they went over to those countries that the drinking age was basically where they were at. Like kids were allowed to
yeah,
drink. So they all wanted to go over there because they all wanted the chance to sneak away from the teacher and go out on
yeah,
their own because they were allowed to
yeah.
actually go out on their own a little bit at that time.
Yeah.
And they wanted to go drinking.
I
That's
mean, I was a good
exactly
Catholic boy. I was a good
Oh,
Catholic
well,
boy. I didn't know. I didn't know Tim was a good Catholic
okay.
boy. No, I was
Well,
surprised. He was like, "No,
yeah.
you can drink here as long as you have money." I'm like, okay. No, I don't want a beer. I'll have a soda." And he goes, "The soda costs more than the beer." I was like, "Okay, that makes sense."
But talk about weird. When I used to go over to Spain and go to the clubs in Madrid and Barcelona. It was
Yeah,
trippy. You
yeah,
go into the club and you'd see friggin' 16-year-olds in there
yeah,
dancing with their friends, and they
yeah,
all got drinks in their hand.
yeah,
And I'm like, well, that is just weird. That's just
yeah,
totally weird.
yeah. It is.
Yep.
It's strange.
But
Yep.
anyway, so I mean, yeah, I just, you're curious if I'm curious if other countries will pick up on these types of approaches and
Yeah.
start to maybe start sliding some legislation or try to write a bill and get it passed.
Yeah.
For example, right? It doesn't have to come from the federal level.
Right.
This could be something that happens at a city level or a
Right.
state level, and they say, "Hey, man, we kind of like that approach. We have a high rate of smoking in our town,
Yeah.
and so let's pass some legislation that says we're not going to sell cigarettes to anybody born after a certain date."
Yeah.
You know?
That'd be, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I
there'd be
mean, it
some
could
fun.
happen.
I think that would eventually get everybody on an uproar. I think it would actually, in a way, benefit the vape industry, and I think it would open up a little bit more eyes to how our government is attacking this product in general. Which I have gotten a few people to swing over on my side and
Mm.
looking at it in a different way and seeing what is going on. And I've had a couple friends of mine say, "Wow, I've never seen the government go after a product like this in years."
Right.
And I think it probably would open up the eyes. I would like to see his town try to pull that off. I would really, really like to see that.
Yeah, well, I think I think you might see a few small isolated places get
Yeah,
away with it, and it would make national news and stuff like that. But the moment the tobacco companies saw it really
yeah,
start to infiltrate their pockets,
yeah,
then you would see massive lobby money get dumped into DC.
yeah,
Just to make sure that things were protected, or they do something dumb like
yeah.
come up with MSA2
There you
and
go.
basically make the tobacco companies shovel more money towards the
Yeah.
government and stuff like that.
I've had people say that to me, Tim. I've had people say, "Well, if you take that MSN money away, where are they going to get the money? They're going to come after me for something else." I'm like, "You son of a bitch, really?" That's how you're looking at it. You're looking at it at that, as far as if MSA money, if tobacco sales, if vaping becomes successful and cigarettes stop selling, they don't have that MSA money for their budget. So he's looking at it like, oh, if they don't have that money, they got to get it somewhere else. So they're going to come after me. And I'm like, what? Really? That's how you're going to look at it? Can you imagine that? That's ridiculous.
Yeah. No, I mean, go after who? You, the
The
consumer?
taxpayer, they're going to have to try to find that money somewhere else to pay for those things that they're
Well, they
using.
would just
Yeah,
do silly things like increase
right,
the
right. Well,
taxes on
that's what he's afraid
those.
of. Instead of worrying about public health and a product that is actually saving people, he's more worried about down the road that he's going to have to pay more taxes something else because they need to make up to California. Let's take California for instance, to $7 billion.
Mm,
That's a lot of fucking money.
mm-hmm.
I mean, can you imagine that being cut in half and then the government saying, well, we got to find this money somewhere else. We got to find this $4.3 billion somewhere else. So we're just going to attack. And he's worried more about that than, say, public health or his kids smoking or
Well,
vaping.
I
It's
think if
ridiculous.
vaping became the next thing,
Yeah.
then every major big name company is going to jump on that boat and create
Yeah.
their own thing,
Yeah.
and then you could, in effect, install an MSA two
Yeah.
and get that same MSA money from the vaping industry. Because I mean, the reality is, you have the niche people like
Yeah.
us who know more about the devices and the things that are available out there that are coming from companies that don't have as much monetary influence like big tobacco companies. And those are the companies they can strike a deal with, and they can say, okay, cigarettes are ending. You can bring in your vaping devices, but we're just
Yeah.
going to turn that MSA around and we're going to apply it to that because the
Yeah.
reality is the FDA regulates it as a tobacco product.
Yep.
So it might as well, in their eyes, be one and the same. So
Yep.
it all becomes the same thing. You're right, though. This
Yeah.
is the ultimate grandfather clause
Yep. Right there.
to exist, and that's what I was saying is you have to go a lot of years
Yep.
still
Yep.
after that smoking will still be available for people in that country, and
Yep.
so the people that have been banned are
Mm.
gonna still get their hands on it
Yeah.
if it's part of the culture. So
Yeah.
whether people like the law, it's irrelevant. There's still
Yeah.
going to be people that are going to do it
I
until
remember
it's
when the law
gone.
changed. I remember when the law changed here, and I was in line at the convenience store, and that kid that has been buying cigarettes for the last year, that was 18, all of a
Mhm.
sudden couldn't buy that pack of cigarette. And I
Right.
tell you, the argument and the fighting that went back and forth from the customer and the clerk was hilarious. I'm not one of those guys to pull out a cell phone and start recording, but I wanted to. I really
Yeah.
wanted to.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was around for several. I got grandfathered in for drinking in
Drinking.
DC. I made it past the grandfather when I was 18,
Yeah.
and it's really trippy. Like all your boys and your
Yeah.
friends they can't go down to DC with you anymore. And then now you're the mule. Now you got
Yeah.
to drive into DC and go buy the alcohol and then bring it back for all your friends.
Well,
Yeah, go
yeah.
ahead, Fabian. Ask away, brother.
Yeah, and then the funny part was to me as a person that votes all the time, I'm thinking to myself, well, fucker, where were you? How did you not know that they were going to change the law from 18 to 21? How did you not know that?
Well, to me, it
Yeah,
seemed like it came on really quick. I think it
yeah,
would seem like it was a brash move at that time
yeah,
because
yeah,
that was the only thing that they could really kind of get through without a whole lot of flack and,
yeah,
and legislative backlash.
yeah,
Was just raising the legal smoking age from 18 to 21. That was the low hanging fruit pass that they could get done. Whereas, if you're going to
yeah,
install flat out vaping bans and ruin
yeah,
businesses and
yeah,
train wreck your economy greatly, there's a lot more ramifications to something like that because there are states that were benefiting from the tax revenue there.
yep.
Yeah, go ahead, Fabian. What's your
Yep,
question, man?
throw that question out. Yeah, it was funny. I was just sitting there and he was screaming at the top, but he's 19. He's been buying them for the last year, without
Hmm.
any issue. And all
Yeah.
of a sudden he's walking into the store and the guy's like, I'm sorry, I need to see your ID. He goes, man, I've been buying here for a year. I'm over 18. The guy goes, no. And he points to that new little sign, that
Yeah.
new little sign right
Hmm.
there.
Yeah.
Oh, and I
No,
just
I mean,
felt,
I'm sure it was culture shock for quite
yeah,
a few people,
yeah, yeah,
and it's, I mean, sadly, and this is why I asked the question. I'm like, if there was one thing that you could concede with and
yeah,
let go to save vaping, even though it's a hard choice to make, what
yeah,
would that be? And raising the age would be one. I
yeah,
mean, eventually all these 18, 19, and 20-year-olds are all going to turn 21. If you're
yeah,
that hard up for it, you can get
yeah,
it again at that point in time.
yep,
But if that was one thing that we had to make a concession
yeah,
with,
yeah,
hey, raise the age then, make it. But they don't care about that now anyway. That
yeah,
all that happened and came and went, and they still don't give a shit about any of that stuff.
yeah,
People,
yeah.
they they
I
still
I
want it
know
gone.
you I know you haven't bought a pack of cigarettes in a long time, Tim, and I don't think you're actually buying any devices in a convenience store, but did you get carded when you did buy a pack of cigarettes when you were in there? And I know it
Sometimes
depends on
yes,
how you
sometimes no.
yeah,
It all
sometimes yeah,
depended. I mean,
yeah,
it's the same thing with alcohol. I mean,
yeah,
depends on where I'm. Like, I can go into a gas station,
yeah,
and buy a 6 pack of beer or whatever, and they just look at me and let me buy it. Then you
uh,
go to like a Kroger, and you can't even get past the register without
right,
showing your ID. So, I mean,
yeah,
cigarettes were the same. It depended on where you went.
yeah,
If someone had a question in their mind, or
yeah,
they were, had a lot of secret shoppers in there,
yeah,
and they knew that they were likely to get busted for not, carding. Because I think
yeah,
in the world of alcohol, I think that they card much higher. I
yeah.
think it's like if
35 and up.
yeah, 35 and up. So
Yeah.
if
Well, there's
Fabian,
one store
if you're
here.
still there, man, ask your
Yeah.
question.
There's one store here, and I've never seen this done before. And I thought to myself, what a brilliant idea! But and it can get difficult for the person working at the store. But all the beer in the fridge and alcohol was
Mm.
locked. You had to show ID first
Mm-hmm.
before the guy even unlocked the cabinet thing to get your cold beer. I
Okay.
thought, well, that makes that's I get it could be a bitch if the store's busy and you only have one guy in there and he's constantly running back and forth. But I thought that's pretty good way of enforcing the employee to actually check the ID before opening. And I started thinking that's a great idea for cigarettes. Why don't they do the same thing with cigarettes? Hey, cigarettes are behind a glass cabinet at the convenience store.
Yeah.
I got to see your ID before I even unlock the door. I think it will push that person, the shop, to actually check ID before unlocking a cabinet. I think you
Well, if
said,
that's a store policy that
yeah,
they've
I think you said
adopted,
there's a place where you've been that they were behind the counter. And they were behind glass. And no,
no,
maybe I
I
heard it
mean,
from.
you walk into any liquor store, I mean, a package store around here that's the equivalent to
Yeah,
your yeah. The in Virginia they had the A, what do they call that? I can't remember. They were A something shops. Anyway,
yeah.
the point behind that though was is that any liquor store. Well, hold on, go back to the
Yeah.
other thing because I
Which
I
one?
want to talk to FAQ you on that. It's not a reality. I'm not saying that we should be, going in front of legislators and saying, "Hey, man, just what if we gave up this? Can you fight more for?" I agree with you that any
Yeah.
concession sets up the territory to raise the bar and take something more and take something
Yeah.
more. It's just it's a hypothetical, meaning
Right.
like if they said we're going to back off, you tell us what you want to part ways with. I just like to ask the question to see what people say,
Yeah.
and it's very easy to go nothing. Okay, well
No.
then you don't get vaping, right? I
Yeah.
mean that's the opt to that question. So I was just always curious what
Yeah.
people are willing to
Yeah, well,
sacrifice.
we've got some good answers to that. I mean, I think most of them have said they would lower the milligrams possible for purchasing. I think most of the people will come up say with that. They would say no more 50 milligrams. We'll go 25 and nothing higher. I think most of the people have answered to that question of yours with that response.
Well, that
It,
seems like one of the more reasonable
that's not
ones.
giving up anything. To be honest, it's not. We're not giving up flavors. We're not giving up, open systems, closed systems. We're just saying, hey, you can't purchase anything over 25 milligrams. And then, does that stop the kid from buying them? No, maybe the kid still goes out instead of buying one at 50. Now he knows he needs, five. I don't know, to do his special little thingy that whatever I forget what they called it, where they put it in the cup. I don't know. You
All
know what
right.
I'm talking about.
So here's the question from Fabian.
Oh, there
So,
it is.
would some of you guys mind helping out a little by sharing a post, please? I'm looking for a black individual. I saw them vaping, and I would like to meet up and have a vaping experience with them. So, have you crafted anything, Fabian? You can actually go on to our Wednesday Night Live
Yeah.
TV Facebook page, which is open, and you're welcome to post there. You people could share out from there as long as it's public from there. That would actually consolidate your request instead of actually asking 16, 15 people
Yeah.
to independently share a post. Because a lot of us are on private pages. So we don't have the ability to allow everybody far and wide. So, I mean, you could certainly go to our Facebook group and do it there and just create your post and put it
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
It'll be public and people can share it out from there.
Yeah.
Does that
So
sound fair?
yeah, I
Me,
posted the link to the page there. It's in the chat. If you want to join there, anybody that wants to join the Wednesday Night Live Facebook group page, is it a public group, Tim?
yes.
It is
Yeah,
a
we have
public group.
no
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
have to approve anybody to get
Right.
in there.
Yeah.
Anybody
Yeah.
can
Right.
join. It's
Right.
it's Wednesday Night Live TV.
Yes. Yeah. Links right there as well. Right here. So you see it. Click on it. It'll take you right to the page, and you're more than welcome. Just try to keep the hand checks to a minimum.
Yeah. I don't think he's
Not,
trying to hand
that's
check. I
not
think
the
he's just trying
not
to
the
find
purpose.
somebody specifically. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we're all about trying to bring people in the
Yeah.
vaping community together. So, if we can
Well, what do
help you a
you?
little bit,
Yeah.
we'll try.
Yeah. What do you think about that idea, though? Convenience
What?
stores having to put the cigarettes behind a locked glass counter, and then the employee having to check ID first before even opening it.
Well, isn't it kind of already that way? I don't know one place where someone can walk up and grab the pack of
No,
cigarettes
no,
on
no.
their
They
own and
can
put it on.
grab it. They can grab them. I mean, the person, but he's going to have to unlock it now, and he's going to have to check ID somehow, some way. I think it would kind of help out. I mean, maybe something they have to scan. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out some ideas. You know
Well, I
me.
mean, you know what? I
Just
mean,
enforce the law. That's all.
well, right. I mean, isn't it that simple? I mean, if you know that you've got
Yeah.
someone walking up to the counter
Yeah.
and you have to be objective at guessing. And now, if it looks like an old decrepit old man, you're probably pretty safe in not carding
Yeah.
that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you've got some guy who, it's hard. It's harder nowadays because I
Yeah.
think kids are wearing beards younger, and ironically, it just seems like the genetics of kids anymore make them look older sooner than how I remember it being.
Yeah. I think they're
I was
drinking
always
milk.
like flipping
Yeah.
out when like you'd see like a senior come back and he's got a friggin' bottle of Boone's
Yeah.
Farm and a
Yeah.
pack of cigarettes. Like, how'd you get it? It's like, man, I just went in there and just put it on the counter and they sold it to me. And I'm
It
like, you mean
has.
to tell me they didn't look at you for 2 seconds
Yeah.
and be like, man, he's a kid, you know?
It's changed. I remember my freshman year in high school, and that senior group looked like fucking men, and here we are walking in. We're just, I was pretty tall, but
Mhm.
still very skinny and very childish looking still. And to see him today, I mean, I look at a couple guys, say, "You're in fucking high school?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm a junior." I'm like, and
Yeah,
full beard, fucking
yeah.
hairy ass arms, fucking, 6'3". Yeah, it's changed. It's changed.
Well, I mean, not to go off on a tangent, but like blows me. Like I look at myself, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting older. I realize that I see a few more wrinkles and shit like that. And then you're like this, and I'm talking like 8, 9, 10 years ago. I mean, I don't know exact time frame, but like
Yeah.
you'd see Brett Favre getting interviewed on TV, and I would always look at him like he's like super old, like he has gray hair
Yeah,
and
he's super.
and he's just looking a lot older. And then they go, yeah, he's retiring at 37 or something like that. And I'm like, he's 37.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell that guy is 37 years old, and
Yeah.
sure as shit, he basically is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, if there are laws in place that state that you need to do this, that, or the other, you have. I mean, as a
Yeah.
proprietor, as someone who owns that store, that
Yeah.
whatever, they need to
Yeah.
follow
Yeah.
the law.
Yeah. I mean, even some stores that I have here, by the one by my house, actually, if the guy scans a pack of cigarettes, it says it right on the register. It says check ID before,
Yep.
and so I mean, there's ways they can do it to keep kids from getting it. I know, yeah, I know kids can still find a way to get it, but I'm just saying, uh, it would be nice if everybody would just card and check IDs. I mean, I know for a fact that the cigarette purchase at a fucking convenience store is not making the guy a millionaire that owns
No,
that store. He's not making any. He's probably not making more than maybe 4 or 5 cents per pack after
probably.
after all the bullshit. So I mean, he's hoping the guy gets gas and gets soda, gets a bag of chips, and all that other nonsense. So to me, I can't see why the guy that owns a store thinks, yeah, I'm going to sell the kids because I need money. And I'm like thinking, dude, what, a couple pennies?
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know what entices someone
Yeah.
to try to intentionally sell
Yeah.
to kids that are underage.
Yeah.
Maybe they just have this mentality like, oh man, they're kids,
Yeah.
fucking, what like
You can
let them
go
go
to
have some fun or whatever.
you can go
You
to
know,
war at 18. You should be
I
able to
don't
buy a
know that
pack of
that's a
cigarettes.
proper approach at looking at things but you know what? People are people.
Yeah.
What are you
Yeah.
going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that you can do is that, you have to have enforcement in place.
Yeah.
and you send you secret shop them. You
Yeah.
send an underage kid in there to try to buy cigarettes,
Yeah.
and if they walk out with a pack, then you immediately walk in there and you start levying fines, and you
Let me
start
throw a
increasing that.
curveball at you. Let me throw a curveball at you because, and I'm not being, you know what here, but do you think it has a little bit to do with the mentality of the person that is owning the store? So let's be honest, the majority of the people that own convenience stores are not from here, the U.S. They come from other countries, whether they're Vietnam, India, and other places like that. Do you think that's the mentality? Like, well, why can't this kid buy a fucking pack of cigarettes? You know?
I don't think it's broad based. I don't think it has
Yeah.
anything to do with that. I think it still comes down to an individual making a choice
Yeah.
to have that sort of mentality about
Yeah.
whether they decide to sell that pack of cigarettes
Yeah.
to another person.
Yeah.
And I'm saying I think that is a component of it. They're like, ah,
Yeah.
fuck it, whatever. They're
Yeah.
kids. They're gonna
Yeah.
go. They want to go. Like we all
He don't
fucked
buy
off
it
when we were.
here. He's gonna buy it down the street.
Well, I mean, I'm not. I don't think that that's the mentality. I think it's just a general mentality that they're
I
like,
do think that that's what the store owner is saying to himself. I think the store owner, I'm not saying all the store owners, but I think a majority of the store owners are saying he doesn't buy it from me. He's just going to go down the street and get it from the other store. I really do believe that some of them
well,
say
that's
that.
probably a
Yeah.
part of it
Yeah.
too. I mean, Nick
Yeah.
just pointed out they're not. They
Yeah.
don't care about tobacco harm reduction, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's my argument to that, Nick, is that you can probably you're not bulletproof, right? So
Yeah.
if enforcement was such that whether or not they're in it for the coin,
Yeah.
then that coin's going to matter
Yeah.
when enforcement sends in a secret shopper, an underage
Yeah.
kid, to walk out with a pack of cigarettes because this guy cares more about his sale, and
Yeah.
then he's got $1,000 fine. Then he happens the second time and it's a $5,000 fine. Then the third time it happens, it's a $10,000 fine, and the fourth time he loses his tobacco license.
Yeah.
Right, so you got to put the fear of God into these people
Yep.
to break down that mentality, to realize that they could literally lose their livelihood, their
Yeah.
store,
Yeah.
over being worrying about the almighty dollar. And I agree with you, Nick. I
Woo.
absolutely, yeah, see, there you go. And that's not good either, four of them being vape shops. But I do think that that's something that gets looked past in terms of legislation. They're so hell bent on trying to
Yeah.
find ways to shut vaping down as an entirety
Yeah.
that they don't care about the basic things that they already have in place, and that is T21
Yeah.
and the ability to enforce laws and find the shit out of these places that are
Yeah.
breaking the law.
Yeah, here in Cali, they'll take your license. I think after the second offense, you could lose your driver's license here, and that's a big fucking deal. I don't know how much more they can do. I mean, losing your liquor license or your tobacco license is a big deal. Don't get me
Right.
wrong, but fucking to have your driver's license pulled from you, I mean that alone should be enough reason not to want to make 25 cents off a pack of cigarettes to some minor.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and at the same time too, do you think that some of it, and the reason why they continue to want to push forward with even more heavy-handed legislation and shut it down, it's not, they want to use the kids as the excuse. Do you think
Yeah.
that this all comes down to, well, they just look at the alternative in terms of enforcement and they go, there's just way too many and we
Yeah.
don't have enough people and we would never accomplish this goal with enforcement alone. So we got to keep pushing forward with other ways of banning it or limiting it or taxing it or removing such
Yeah.
large components. Like they're just like, we can win with legislation and that type of law where we prevent the product from making it onto the
Yeah.
streets and into the stores altogether,
Yeah.
as opposed to enforcing laws and allowing people to exercise their choice, their freedom of choice.
Yeah. I don't know, but I think you do need to have someone out there to set that example or show that okay, we mean business. And I think stores, convenience stores, C stores, whatever you want to call them, I think if you do shut down a couple stores and have them lose their liquor license, I think that does in a way open the eyes of other stores and start saying to themselves, hey, we're going to start carding everybody. I'm not losing my store here over
Right.
this. This is, but yeah, I'll throw it out to you, Nick. Has anyone gotten has the state of Florida gotten to that point where they actually used a C store as an example? Like, here you go. This is what's going to happen to you if you continue selling to minors. And I think once you have at least one or two of those stores just get shut down like that, I think that's enough to set the other stores to start saying, hey, to their employees. Because a lot of times you got to think too, a majority of these stores, yes, like around here in my house, a lot of them are family and that are working there. But there are a few stores that I go to. Matter of fact, the girl that got busted for selling alcohol to a minor, which is hilarious because the kid was behind me and I looked down. I go, this kid shouldn't be buying any alcohol. And I let him in front of me, which was a stupid thing because he only had one thing. So I was like, go ahead in front of me. And he purchased his 6-pack, went outside, and then 3 seconds later, here they come in.
Yeah.
Boom, walked to the back of the register, opened the register. It had a Xerox copy of the $20 bill that he had in his hand
Yeah.
and said, is this $20 bill in your register? And the guy goes, I don't know. I don't have to open the register. And he said, yeah, you do. You need to open the register. And when they did, and that poor girl, she got the fine. And I'm not saying poor girl because she should have checked for ID. It was very odd. I mean, I looked at the kid and I knew he wasn't 21.
Mhm.
And she got in trouble, but the store doesn't get in trouble. And I
So
think
they find her specifically.
yeah, they find her specifically, and I guess it was the second offense that store. So they did come in immediately and put cardboard in front of all the glass of where the beer and alcohol was, so you couldn't purchase anything. But I think if you were to push to the point where you shut down a store for this purpose, for that specific reason, selling to a minor, I think it would set out a message to the rest of the C stores to, hey, we need to really step our game up here and make sure we're not selling to kids.
Right. Well, I think Nick's trying to say that they don't give
Yeah.
a shit, that it's more about the almighty dollar, and
Yep.
they're still going to push the envelope and try to do it regardless. I mean, why do guys get thrown in jail for soliciting prostitution and then they go right back out and do it all over again? It's like, although I do agree with you, John, that if someone lost their business over this, literally got shut down, and that was I mean, the whole family works there. The whole family works there, and all of a sudden that's all completely gone, and it was making money because they sold gas and they sold alcohol and they sold food and toiletries and other convenience components, and they had a steady flow of customer base, and that place got shut down. Word's going to travel. I think,
they get national attention. It would get in the news. I think it would even open the eyes of other convenience stores, not even in the state or the city that they're in. I think it would set a tone for the rest of the country. Hey, I'm not losing my business. I'm not going to lose my livelihood. I can't.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I totally agree.
Sons of bitches.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just to me, it's the one thing that seems to go overlooked and bypassed most often is that there are laws in place, and it just doesn't seem to be enough care or concern to enforce those laws as much as they probably should be. I think that, and then on the other hand too, I think if everybody out there fighting against vaping would stop making it a thing, it would stop being as much of a thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The fact that they amplify it and keep pushing the narrative, like, we got to get kids to quit because it's addicting the future. Stop drumming it up and making it the taboo thing that that the kids love. I mean, if you want to talk about some labels that are attracting them, you just told them basically you can't have this, and you'll enjoy it because you'd enjoy it if you had your hands on it. Then
Hey, Nick, do you want me to share that what you just sent me? Is that cool to share or no? It is addressing underage vaping without differing adult freedom of choice for their health and decisions. Yeah, I don't know. We'll wait for him. Timmy, you ready for some news?
Yeah, let's talk about some news.
News. Are you going to bring us happy-go-lucky, loving news today? He's got to scam through it first.
I'm just. I think so. I
All right,
think
all
that,
right,
I think it's both articles are helpful and
all
a
right.
little bit more positive. Yeah. Oh, all right, cool. Skid row. Skid fucking row. All right. Tippity tap tap tapper and tippity tippity. All right. So, welcome to the news portion of the show, folks. We're going to talk about a couple things related to vaping, and 33 things related to vaping because it's a vaping show, right? That's what we talk about, right? We're tapping our way into the vaping news. So I wanted to talk about some things, right? Because 99.99% of us in this group here all fight for the same cause, and we keep saying it all the time. I tweeted the other day, basically to the point, to the comment that I'm like, the nation and countries are feared into being scared of something that is unproven. So the mays, the mights, the probablys, the coulds, the possiblies, they fear that more than the thing that we can say we know can, will, has, and does. Nobody fears that nearly as much. So, but we all understand that a lot of that comes from a lot of the junk science that's out there and the anti-speak that we have to kind of trod through on the daily, right? So let's share that. I thought this one was interesting. I don't know if it'll start turning any heads, but it was a really interesting article that I thought we would talk about. Let me zoom that in for you guys. Hold on one second. I got to find the little. Oh, it's already at 150. So I guess everybody, if you have bad eyes at this point,
Yeah.
I got nothing for you. You're just gonna have to squint a whole lot, a whole lot. So some researchers have been actually starting to study other studies that are out there in the nether that propagandize or fear factor people into
Yep.
thinking that these vaping studies are actually legitimate when most of us are real quick to debunk them or state the alternative. Hold on, let me get rid of that there. Okay. That was annoying the shit out of me. What happened? What happened? Hold on one second. I went to a different. There we go. All right. Now, here we go. All right, so let's talk about this one. This one was kind of making its rounds on Twitter. It was a real interesting article. So, research on the safety and efficacy of vaping has been contested for quite some time, roughly about a decade now. We've basically had the real fight kind of the rubber hit the road and the fight started. So we all know that there's basically two camps. There's the pro vapors and there's the anti vapors. I said the pro vapors are the good guys, the anti vapors are the bad guys. But we also have to ask the bigger question: which side is right? And I think we all already know the answer to that one. I don't think we'd have to take it. It's not a stretch to decide who is in the right and who is in the wrong here. But it's important to note that now we have an international team of researchers. I don't know that they actually said how many, but there is a team of researchers that looked at 24 different vaping studies published in scientific journals that were based on a Google algorithm, the most read, most click-throughs, I'm going to guess, and most read and most cited in our literature and policy discussions, and that's according to this Google algorithm. So these are the ones that had the highest viz going on. Right, fuck you. It's basically stuff like that, right? All
Yeah.
these studies that are out there. So just so everyone understands, the majority of the studies that they looked at were conducted only within the United States, and the subjects included smoking initiation, respiratory issues, and smoking reduction and cessation among vapors. The larger majority had findings that tended to weigh against the case for vaping as harm reduction. So the researchers involved, there were a couple of the researchers involved, and the ones that were highlighted in this particular article, amongst all of the other international research research applicants that were involved in this was Dr. Kothar Hajat of the United Arab Emirates University and Dr. Ricardo Pelosa from the Center of Excellence for Acceleration of Harm Reduction, or COIHAR, at University of Catania in Italy. So they had published an article for everyone that actually, let me go try to find out where they actually published it. I think it said down here. Maybe I lost the space, but oh, here it is. It didn't say where they published it, but there you can link out to it, oddly enough.
Yeah.
I wish I could, I mean, we could click
Probably
on
at the
it.
bottom, Tim, the very bottom.
We will. We'll look at the references. We'll look at the the references on it. But they did publish this study, and it was called "The Analysis of Common Methodological Flaws in the." I have my ink cartridge is like horrible. Well, I'm getting that kind of like blur line. So, analysis of common methodological flaws in the highest cited e-cigarette epidemiology research. They were, and so what they said is they were shocked to find out that almost all of the studies were methodologically flawed. They variously lacked a clear hypothesis, used inadequate methodology, didn't collect data relevant to the study objectives, and or it didn't correct for obvious confounding factors. All right, so I wanted to read this statement here. He said, this is Dr. Pelosa. He said, "I'm astounded that such low quality studies have made it through editorial review in prestigious scientific journals." Dr. Pelosa stated, "The credibility of tobacco control scientists and their research is on the line." So it's interesting. I mean, these are. I mean, I don't. You know, I don't. Obviously these are tobacco. I mean, these are
right.
harm reduction advocates, but they're looking at these actual studies to try to help disprove them wrong. So wait, there was another. Is that the statement? I said I'd read statement. So
Is
I
that
did.
the goal? Was that the goal of this place, or do they do this for other things? Do you know? Is it just
No, well,
targeted?
they basically what they wanted. They just wanted to take a look at the
Okay.
most readily available and viewed publications or studies that were pushed to see whether or not the study criteria was solid. So
Okay.
were their findings founded
Yeah.
enough to state that these are truths? And they said based on the study control methods that they used and the data that was returned, that there were a lot of flaws in those particular studies, that they were really invalidated, is what they were saying. Is that basically they're pushing a very poor narrative out there, and a lot of what they're saying is untrue. Yet we live in a world where information like that comes from what appears to be reputable sources, other medical, organizations or medical teams or researchers and things like that, the public at large is probably more inclined to see these high flow articles that make it through social media into the newspapers, into their other publications, magazines, whatever, digital papers, and they read these and they think that they're fact.
Yeah.
Because why would someone question it, right? I mean, unless you're just an ultimate critical thinker and you're like, I don't know, maybe I ought to look at the alternative argument to this particular article. I need to make the decision on my own. Most people are probably inclined to believe something based on a gotcha headline, which has nothing to do with any of the study criteria that's in the actual report or study or paper or anything. So they'll believe that because they'll, whatever gotcha headline they want, or they read what the numbers and the data and the things that are posted without checking the references or looking deeply into it to see whether or not, because we're not scientists. How are we going to know that the study they conducted was highly flawed? How do we know what their baselines were? How do we know what their control methods were? It just says what they are, but most people are going to take it at face value, right? They're not going to question it.
Well, yeah, they're not going to, so there's a lot of people out there. Oh, I saw it on ABC, so it's got to be true. Or I saw it on NBC. Yeah.
Right, exactly, and no different than if they read it in Cosmopolitan
Right.
or Time magazine
Yeah.
or whatever what rag you pick up at the
Yeah.
dentist's office. I mean, those are you know viewed by the general public, the
Yeah.
people that don't have any dog in the fight, the people that don't really care. But they're going to be they're an alarmist, right? They're going to pick up a magazine and the article is going to be like, you know, teen vaping is an epidemic. And then let's read this story. Oh, and it causes all kinds of lung problems
Right.
too. And
Right.
nicotine is addictive, and it's stunting their growth and stuff like that. But I mean, to South Memphis, South Memphis said, "Do you think these people always mess up these studies, then put it out, and the no people not going to?" Well, right. That's kind of what I'm commenting to. My argument on that is that it's very difficult for the average person who doesn't vape, doesn't have a dog in the fight or a stake to
Yeah.
claim in this, and they don't need to save anything. They just read what they read, and then they take it at face value, and they're like, yeah, well, these are scientists. They must know what they're fucking talking about. So why should I question somebody with a PhD at the end of their name or doctor at the front? They're not going to do the research. Case in point, the lady that I went back and forth with on Twitter, and I gave her publications to go read, and she flat out told me, she goes, I don't have time in my life to go read medical papers. She's like, I'm just going to ask you. So I had to come back with as many facts as I could. But these are researchers that are looking at other researchers' research and calling it out, right? And so this is an excellent article, probably worth it going and looking at their study and maybe using that and passing that around. One of the things that they flat out debunked, they said, among others, the researchers debunked studies that claim to demonstrate the so-called gateway effect. And the statement they made was, the studies we analyzed lacked sound research methods and as such could not reliably establish causation or identify a gateway effect. So, I mean, but these are the kinds of checks and balances that we need. We need people who know what they're doing to be able to legitimately check and see what these other people are pushing out there,
Yeah.
so that they can call them out and say whether or not that's garbage or it isn't garbage, right? So, I mean, and I don't know, who's funding these people. These people aren't going to do this for free. Somebody's putting money in their pockets to look at this stuff. Who's doing that? But at the same time, we do need people to counter these. And it was pointed out, these are quote unquote supposedly peer reviewed as well. Well,
Yeah.
peer reviewed probably by people who were getting the same money from Bloomberg that the other person got to go ahead and do that study in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So there was a couple statements that I wanted to read down here near the bottom. It was right after that. It says, in our paper, we offer practical recommendations that can massively improve the quality and rigor in future research in the field of tobacco harm reduction. So basically, they're trying to offer their recommendations for actually looking at the true facts around vaping. So they're also countering it with proper data as well. So they're trying to tell other people how to do research the right way. They include acknowledge the health consequences of previous smoking history, critical when the vast majority of vapers are former smokers, detail vaping and smoking habits and history in terms of their duration, amount, and frequency, ensure allocation and randomization of research participants to avoid selection bias. I think that's a big one. Ensure that implications and conclusions don't assume a causal relationship unless causality has been established. Discuss biases, limitations, and alternate explanations honestly and transparently, and discuss how they impact findings. So basically, their whole point is we need more unbiased research. So I just thought this was interesting. I'm very interested to actually go and read their article, which apparently you can find here. It is on link.springer.com, and here it is: analysis of common methodological flaws in the highest cited e-cigarette epidemiology research. And I'm going to accept your cookies, so I don't have to stare at you.
Oh, Tim, you shouldn't have done that. No, I'm kidding.
That's all right. Too bad. I've already done it on like 3 billion different sites.
You
But
don't know
yeah, I
what's
mean,
in their cookies. You don't know what's in their
right.
cookies.
And you're right, fuck you. Yeah, I do think that people probably don't most people aren't don't want to be a critical thinker. They just want information delivered to them. I mean, that's kind of like how we all kind of grew up anyway, right? I mean, you were
Right.
supposed to believe the information that was put out in front of you. But I certainly think in today's day and time that we all need to start switching over to becoming more critical thinkers and actually looking at information on both sides of the coin and make our own determinations as to what is right, what is wrong, what is real, what is fake.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting to read this entire thing. I mean, there was no way I was going to be able to do
Yeah.
an article for you guys tonight on all of this stuff.
Yeah.
You're going to have to sit down and do some reading on your own
You're
on
gonna
this
have to
one.
read, boys and girls.
Right.
And real quick before you jump into it, I wanna use the power of the people we have in the chat right now to help Will out there. He's got a good question, and I hate to stop Tim in his news, but I want to help a fellow vapor, and we have some vapors out there. DIY said it's not something he can do, and the first thing I asked him was what milligrams of nicotine he's vaping, and he said he's vaping 3. Throw them some ideas. One of the things I think maybe I need to know is how much you're vaping a day. You said a 60 mil bottle is costing you $25. Are you going through? How long does it take you to go through a 120 mil bottle? Jesus, hold on, time out. 120 is costing you 25. That's a pretty good price. I know maybe it went up a little bit, but how much are you vaping to the point where you're saying it's not affordable? You see
I
his
see the
post.
question. He
Yeah.
said he needed to quit vaping because it was
Yeah.
costing him too much. I mean, that's basically a residual of things that are going on. You know what? You might want to think about maybe bringing a second device into your life
Hmm.
and going with an MTL device to counter your freebase vaping, right? Because you're doing 3 milligram
Right.
on a freebase, probably on a sub ohm tank or an RTA or something like that, and it's probably burning it up pretty quick. You might want to
Right.
just have a filler MTL device, like a pod type device with some 18 or something like that, or maybe 24, and
Hmm.
then just use it as filler here and there. MTL, you vape at a really low wattage. You don't need as much Nick salt to create the same relevant
Right.
satisfaction as freebase. And then have that be your filler, and then maybe it'll slow down your freebase.
Yeah. Yeah. Because a lot of times, too, like Tim is saying, it's a good idea, too. A lot of times, I think a lot of people try to get to that 3 so quickly. And I think sometimes they're not ready to be in that 3 milligram range. And they end up vaping a 120 mil bottle in 2 days, which you shouldn't be doing. But
Right.
I think a lot of times, everybody's trying to get, and I get it because a lot of times it's hard to find, sixes and all that other stuff, 18s, 25s, and 3 seems to always be available wherever you're looking. But sometimes I think a lot of people just try to get that jump to 3 and they're not ready, and they just you're constantly vaping. The next thing you know, you haven't even realized that that my mind never leaves your hand. So like Tim suggested, maybe getting yourself a mouth to lung device, buy yourself a 60 mil bottle of say some 25 milligram Nick salt or whatever you want to do, and swap it around and try to get yourself I mean, dude, that price isn't bad. I'm going to be honest with you. 120, if you're getting a 120 mil bottle for $25, that's pretty damn good, because that seems to be the norm now for a 100 mil bottle.
Yeah.
It's-
Oh,
all
and then
right.
I would ask another question to Will on this one. Like, what? So you've never been a fan of MTL?
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, if so, what was your goal with vaping anyway? I guess
Yeah.
I would have to ask that
Yeah.
question. So if you're going to make a bold enough statement to say you got to
Yeah.
quit vaping because it's costing you too much money, are you saying that if you quit, you're going to go back to smoking because somehow you find that
Yeah.
to be cheaper
Very
in
good.
the long run? Or are you were looking to try to quit vaping to cessate completely, meaning you
Yeah.
were going to eventually put the vape down in the long run.
Yeah.
I mean, I will help you as much as we
Yeah.
possibly can, but
Yeah.
it's all relative to where because we can't help you with your money. I mean, we
Right.
can't get you a better job. We can't call your boss and tell him to give you a raise.
Yeah.
We can't make the vaping companies lower their prices.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, there are
tell
things
yeah. Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
things we just simply can't do to
Right.
help provide an answer for you. We'd hate to see you quit vaping if it means it's going to lead you back to smoking because you find that to be cheaper. That would be
Did he write how much how did you let us know how much how long does it take you to go through that 120 ml bottle? I'm curious. So put that down there. And if so, even just a slight jump to 6, I think it would change your vaping habits. Even just moving up from a 3 to a 6. I think if you're I hope you're not vaping 30, 40 mils a day. I hope you're not. But if you
yeah.
are, maybe just even a slight jump from, I mean, I mean, I know for me going from 3 to 6 is a huge difference.
Yeah.
I feel the throat hit on a 6.
Yeah.
I don't get that throat hit on a 3. But if you're vaping 30, 40 mils a day and you're burning that 120 mil bottle that quick,
Yeah.
maybe just a slight, not even if you're not into MTL, just bump up to 6.
Or continue to conversate with the people in the
Yeah.
chat. We got lots of
Yeah.
knowledgeable vapors who
Yep.
DIY, and they can probably point you in the right direction on how to get
Fucking Luke.
started. You know, uh,
Luke.
yeah,
There's Luke for you. Yeah.
talk to them,
Yeah.
and they can point you in the right
Yeah.
direction on products to find to help you get started in the DIY game,
Yeah.
and maybe that'll help bring some of your costs down.
Yeah.
And help you create, bulk amounts that will allow you to stay within your vape budget hands.
We're going to swing back to the news for Tim. Apologize, Tim. Everybody give Will some help out there in chat, and Tim's going to get back to the news.
Yep. All right. So the next article that I wanted to talk about was about advocacy in general and support, right? Because we talk about this all the time too. And we talk about, there are these big groups that are out there like AVM or AVA, CASA. I mean, CASA is a consumer-based group. They're basically in North America, they're probably the biggest consumer-based advocacy group that's available to us for free. Of course, they'll take your donations. They don't require you to donate, but because they're consumers and they're a nonprofit, there's nothing that they do to help them generate revenue. So they kind of rely on funding and donations in order to fight that fight and alert us to the calls to action and the legislations and the things that are going on. But this was an interesting article on consumer groups that are available internationally, or where you can turn or where you can look. Because I know we don't have just primarily a U.S. based group of people here on the show. I mean, we have people from all over Germany, the UK. I mean, Australia. I mean, you name it. We got people all over the place. But you might be interested to know that there are more than 50 vaping and nicotine consumer rights groups around the world now, and more are forming all the time. Ironically, though, there are almost more than 3 times as many countries that don't have consumer-based organizations for vaping and stuff like that. And some of those that were named were countries like Australia, Japan, Russia, Turkey, Pakistan, and Poland don't have consumer-based groups, right? So, and do they? Well, I think Pakistan might be a little bit harder because I mean, didn't they kind of have vaping completely banned? But anyway, there's only one Arabic-speaking country, Tunisia, that has a consumer group. Some of these countries have banned nicotine sales, but not all of them. And even in countries with consumer organizations, most vapors don't even participate in them, right? So we talk about these subjects all the time. We say how, you want to know where to go or where to fight or how to fight or who to turn to. You're better off in mass, right? You're better off turning to an organization that has the leverage to push forward with the fight, and those are the people you need to team up with and pal up with, because we're better off in numbers than we are independently on our own. And a lot of times it might seem hopeless too, like you want to fight as much as you possibly can, but you don't know how because you just feel like you're by yourself, right? So you need to turn to these larger groups in order to help kind of substantiate that. And the reasons why vapors don't participate. They were kind of outlined here. Some don't understand that there's a war on vaping going on at all.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big thing. A lot of people have no idea. They're completely clueless. They might be a brand new vapor, somebody that's just getting into it. They're excited about the idea that they got their first vape and they're going to quit smoking, but they don't know that, like, basically right around the corner there's all this bad shit that's just looming around. So they don't join a consumer group because they don't know that they really need to, right? Because they just don't know that there's a war on vaping. And that I'll read the whole statement. It said, some don't understand that there's a war against vaping that can only be successful by banding together. Some don't join them because they think that they're constantly going to be bugged for money. You know, this consumer group, they're going to jump in and they're like every 2 minutes they're going to get a spam email from them like, hey, send us, you know, we could use $20 or, you know, go to the donation link here and help fund this fight and stuff like that. I mean, all of them are going to have the ability to accept your donations, but we also understand that people don't have money
Right.
to give all the time, but these groups aren't always around just to try to get money out of you. So, but people shy away from that. It's like the Fez guys standing at the intersection at the light when you pull up. You're like, oh shit, here they come with the boot. I don't want to give them any more money. I've given them money 20 times.
Yeah.
And most don't charge I was going to say most don't charge a defined membership fee. What is more important to them is recruiting new members, as this can be more effective since they've earned respect among elected officials and regulators by presenting themselves as a legitimate representative of large groups of consumers. So I wanted to touch on this component down here. So why do consumers need their own organization? So I'm just going to read some of this because it was a lot to quantify. Since vaping arrived in Europe and the Americas around 2007, it's been subjected to endless attacks by misinformed or publicity-seeking politicians, nervous regulators, and professional anti-nicotine organizations. In fact, before vaping came along, anti-nicotine groups didn't care about nicotine at all. They were called anti-smoking groups, and cigarettes were their main concern. But here's what happened. Vaping got really popular, all right? And then everybody else's profits started to get challenged, and vaping basically started to make cigarettes start to go away. And so the same tactics that they wanted to use to frighten smokers, they started to go ahead and go after vaping and use the same kind of attacks, right? So trade organizations that represent manufacturers and retailers of vaping products are an important part of the struggle. Vendors opposing laws and regulations that threaten their businesses usually have more financial clout than customers. They're able to hire lobbyists and lawyers to fight bad legislation. Typically, industry trade groups have good relationships with consumer groups. And they were also going in and saying that as far as what's up, Canadian Vape? As far as consumer groups are concerned, the reason why they're important is you may care about your smock mod, or you may care about the industry in general, but if you tend to join more of a manufacturer group of vape advocates or a product-based group of vape advocates, their fight might be different from that of just simply the consumer, right? Because these other groups are fighting to preserve their business, right? So they may not have the same general intention as just being, because they're really no longer a consumer, they're a provider. So they're fighting to preserve their products, whereas you still need to fight from the perspective that you're a consumer and you're trying to protect your right to still be a consumer. So it has to work in unison to some degree. But their fight is different from the fight that you need to put up. So consumer groups are good for consumers. So if that's all you are as a consumer, you buy your stuff, you vape your stuff, you want to continue to buy your stuff, you need to fight from a consumer perspective. So we need our own representation. So it's important to know in the fight for THR. So let's talk about some that are available. I don't know where everybody's from. Everybody's kind of spread out. Good night, though. Thanks for coming to the show tonight, brother. Good to see you every time. I know it's late for you. So there are some global nicotine consumer rights organizations. They were mentioned earlier, so I saw somebody put them up in the chat. You have INCO, the International Network of Nicotine Consumer Organizations. You have MOVE, called Medical Organizations Supporting Vaping and Electronic Cigarettes. You have CASA, And medical organizations is also a member of ETHRA. I don't know what ETHRA is. And affiliated with INCO. So a lot of them are tied together.
Yeah.
So you've got consumer organization groups in Africa. There's CASA, Campaign for Safer Alternatives. Then you've got one for the Congo. I see them on Twitter. You've got one in Kenya, Malawi, Nigeria, Tunisia, Uganda. In the Americas, you've got one. What place is this? Latin American. I'm not even going to say it. I'm not gonna. I'm not.
Come on, Timmy. You can work on that. You know your Spanish.
Asociación por la Reducción de Daños. I've never heard daños. De daños del tabaquismo Iberoamérica. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will not be your Spanish teacher for the next 2 semesters.
You're not sexy enough.
All right. So you got Argentina. You got one in Brazil. THR.
You have the link to share and chat with this page so people can.
I can. I will copy this one.
That's my man.
So you got Canada. You got Chile. You got Colombia, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Mexico, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, here, Venezuela. You got Asia Pacific, so that's like Singapore. The Asia Pacific region covers New Zealand and Australia, so I'm surprised that Australia didn't have a specific one. But
I'm surprised India still has one.
Well, why not? I mean, they got it taken away from them. Kazakh, you're right, Nick. Kazakh is a big one. Indonesia, New Zealand has one. Pakistan, the Philippines, Taiwan, Thailand. In Europe, you've got several. So you can go down this list. There's one in Denmark.
There it is.
Estonia, Finland, France.
Germany, even.
Yep, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Ireland, Italy, Netherlands. They're all over the place.
Italy.
Right. So, I mean, if you know friends that are international and are like, man, I don't know, they're trying to take it away. There are consumer groups that they can attach themselves to and have a common goal group that they can stand with. Sweden, Spain. It goes on. It goes on. So I'm going to post this. As a comment. It's coming from ZampleBox. Take that, copy it, paste it, put that in your favorites, and you have access to all of the consumer groups that you could possibly want to get your hands on. CASA is also one that we talk about constantly. All right, so let's finish with one thing left. We got a we got a Fight a Flavor ban, people.
The Canadian one. It's a link. Tim posted the link. So
well, go back. I can go back up. It's no big deal. I just got to get back to the back. It was up here somewhere. Canada. There it is. Tobacco Harm Reduction Association of Canada, THRA. They're also a member of INCO.
There you go, Mr.
And
Vapor.
and there's links to all of them here too.
Right.
So it takes you right to all of their pages. Okay.
Nice.
So let's talk about saving a. We talked about Hawaii 2 weeks ago. They are moving forward with their flavor ban legislation. So they introduced the bill. They had votes on it. Deferred to the Senate Consumer Protection and Ways and Means committees earlier this week. That the House has now it passed the House, and the bill is going to be brought up again for consideration. But they're going to have a public decision making or a vote on this, and this is tomorrow. So if you know anybody or you want to get involved in this fight. It is tomorrow at 10 a.m. in Hawaii. They're 3 hours behind me. So it is John's time, basically.
That's right, baby.
So you can read the points to include in your comments. You can get all the information you need. You can submit your letter as well, and you can join in on the video conference. There's a video conference tomorrow. They don't show a link to the video conference, but it just says that there's one tomorrow.
Because you're out of there. Oh, well, they probably know that you're not from there.
Well, I didn't fill in the form, but I would think over here they would include the link to the whatever. But that said, that's the biggest one right now. That's tomorrow. If you want to take part in that one, be our guest. Or tell your friends if you know any people from Hawaii. I'm sure the people in Hawaii are well aware of what's going on. But remind your friends, hey man, you need to go fight for this one. So that said, that's your news for tonight. Tap 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 tap. I appreciate you guys listening, and
Yeah.
back to you in the studio, John.
Back to the studios here in lovely Modesto, California.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Uh, oh man, yeah. Tim posted the link to that. So anybody that's I know we have quite a few viewers from outside of the U.S. and if you didn't know you had those groups, now you do. So
There, I
get on
just
over there.
posted it again.
Yeah, go on over there and get not only sign up, get your friends to sign up too.
Yep.
Anything else you got to throw out, Mister Tim?
I'm like Mowgli said. I am tapped out, my friend.
She's tapped the fuck out.
I've tapped the fuck out. It's been a long day.
I'm trying to think. Is the Beastie Boys song "You Got to Fight for Your Right"?
To party?
Yeah, right? Yeah. That should become our slogan song for fucking advocacy.
Yeah, but we shouldn't treat vaping like partying.
No. But just
Change
that
let's
part.
change. Let's write our own words to that song.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be kind of interesting. Just
you got to fight for your right to vape on.
Yeah, we can do that. We can do it. We have some very creative people in chat there. But then again, Tim, we how long have we been waiting for someone to put a song for you together?
Yeah, let me rewrite the words.
Yeah.
I'll just do it myself.
Yeah. All right, guys, we are out of here. Want to thank everybody out there in chat for always joining us. Chris, Ro, Luke, we got somebody new in there. Who's
Mutt? Thanks for joining the show tonight. Appreciate your input, man. I'm glad that you chimed in. South Memphis, bro. Thanks for coming back since yesterday. I love to hear your commentary in there.
Shannon,
we got Shannon. Shannon, 2 nights in a row. Thanks for. Or Shannon, you were here last week too, weren't you?
Yeah.
I'm losing my mind here. The blonde is Curtis. Thanks for being always Curtis, always in the house. Canadian Vape. Thanks for being here. Yeah, Rog, Nick, everybody who was here. I know a lot of people already checked out. Mallory, everybody. So.
Yeah, and thanks again for helping Will. I put the link to our Facebook group page. You can join that group, and you have any other questions or you need some help, post it on there. Somebody will help you. And we'll see everybody next week, next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you know the rest of the stuff. I'm not going to go into it.
Figure it out.
Joke. It used to be the joke, but we're not going to go. No. All right, Timmy. Thanks again, and we'll see everybody next Wednesday, man.
All right. Night, everybody.
Night.
Peace.